Hi, thank you for joining me. It's Brian O'Neill, author of Acting as a Business, Strategies for Success, 5th edition, former talent agent, former talent manager, and presently a faculty member at NYU and Juilliard here in New York. What I'd like to talk to you about today is emotional intelligence and why almost counts, particularly for the actor. First, let's take a look at emotional intelligence. It's a concept that's trending, that's being written about, spoken about, and what it means. And in its most simple, maybe simplistic form, it means having the ability to make your emotions work for you instead of against you. And it's really important for actors, and can make the difference of whether you see disappointment or promise in any given situation. Okay, so where did I get this from? In my book, I wrote a few chapters about the agent interview, what agents expect from actors, how it all works. There's one particular section that actors have kind of glommed onto and repeatedly said it back to me over the years. So if you'll forgive me while I quoting myself here, I'll tell you what it says. It says, agents live in a world of callbacks. Most of their best people get called back a lot and then don't get the job most of the time. Okay, that's a truism. It was true then, it's true now. What it means is as the field of casting is being narrowed and you're getting closer, there's still a good chance it's not going to be you. But this is what agents monitor. This is what agents are looking at. Is the outside world responding to you? Does somebody want to see you again? Do they want to bring you back in? Does the producer want to see your tape? Do they want to send you more sides? That has to be buzzing. You know, otherwise an agent would live in a vacuum and not have anything back, and their energy and interest in you would have to start to dissipate. Okay, so what I've discovered, despite living for decades in this knowledge and awareness and daily, day-to-day part of the way the business works, was something a few years ago that surprisingly came as a surprise to me. There was a candidate in my district who was running for Congress, okay? Ran for Congress, he did not win. The other candidate got most of the votes and he was declared the winner. And on the night that he conceded, there was an interview with him with a journalist. And the journalist said to the young would-be congressman, well, having lost today's election, and I could see that it jarred the candidate a bit. He said, well, I didn't lose. My opponent won. And at first I was like, okay, probably like anybody would be watching this thinking, you can call it what you want, but the other guy got the votes and he's going to have the job and you're not. But I could see that that's not the way he was seeing it. And I started to think about it from his point of view. He was not seeing it as I lost, game over. And I thought about what he had been through. He had got his party's candidacy. He did get in the primary. He did get a lot of votes. He did get a lot of support. He was well-liked, and he was running against a popular incumbent. But that feeling, that emotional flip of, I didn't lose, you know, he won, is what I really believe brought him back a few years later when he really did win. And it was an interesting thing, because I thought I was so well entrenched in that sense of things. So what I want to tell you about is, what has this got to do with you, and what has this got to do with your acting career more specifically? So I want to give you a few case histories. I would call them stories, but I think case history always sounds more important. And then I have a proposal for you that won't cost you anything, okay? These are 3 stories, case histories, of actors that I knew and worked with, and one that I'm friends with that happened. And I'll tell you in the order of which they grow. One was an actor that I worked with, and he got an agent. And the agent was getting him in on New York primetime television shows. He was getting called back for guest spots and co-stars, as they call them. And he would read for the producers. He'd get on hold. He'd get pinned. They'd check his avail, and then, bam, he'd be released again and again and again. It was getting frustrated. I totally understand that. I don't think I could take it personally. But it was starting to get into his attitude, and he was saying to me, you know, I go in there, I see these same people, and I go through this, you know, big setup, and then comes the disappointment. And I said, yes, but your agent is seeing the promise, because you're almost getting these things, and that's the difference. So I said, here's what I want you to do, okay? Or as my mother used to say to me from time to time, for my sake, do it for you, okay? Start to think of these people that keep bringing you in as looking for a job for you. Okay, because what they're actually doing is looking for the right person for the role, and they think it might be you, or they wouldn't be bringing you back. It just doesn't work that way. And they certainly wouldn't be taking your self-tapes and sending it upstairs to their producers if they didn't think their producers thought the same thing, because they'd get fired if they kept doing that. So take it as an incontrovertible truth that you are in serious contention for these roles, and I think you'll go in there better knowing there's promise here, not just defeat, not just it's going to show. So sure enough, he did that, and what happened was he started to book jobs, and now he's getting better jobs. It didn't surprise me. See, he was new at this, and he didn't understand really how what might look negative and defeat is not. Okay, again, his agent kept saying almost. So here's another case history. It was another young actor. He got an audition at a very important New York theater that's very hard to get any audition at, an off-Broadway house, much less a lead. But his agent believed in him and sent him in, talked the casting director into seeing him, and he got called back, and he got to read for the director, he got to read for the playwright, at which point he, quote unquote, lost. Okay, he said, I lost to a guy who went to Yale, and he had this and he had that. And I said, hold on just a second, okay? I said, he did have those things. They know who he is. They've seen his work. They have seen his work. They're more comfortable with him. You're new, but there were wins in there. They saw you. They liked you. They saw you again. You came close. So what happened a short time thereafter, and this is not unusual at all, and in New York, theater and television are so closely linked, especially now with all the TV in New York, that sometimes I can't tell where one picks up and the other leaves off. But anyway, what happened was this casting director from the theater also cast for television. And that's not so unusual either. So this casting director got a job casting a new primetime network television show. It was a small role. It was going to be a few times recurring for a particular character. And he thought of this guy, whom he had been very impressed with from the play that he did not get, that he allegedly lost. So he called the agent and he asked for the actor to come in and read. The actor read, gets called back, gets to read for the producers. The producers say, okay, fine, he's the one, he'll be on. We'll have a few times. The nature of television is fluid, depends on where it's going, how they're gonna write. Everything isn't set in stone yet. But they said he'll be on a few times. So the next time I saw the actor, he had done 36 episodes of this show as a guest star. I said, oh, okay. So how has your life changed? He said, well, I'm supporting my family. He said, people recognize me. I'm getting better auditions. I said, all from a job that you ostensibly lost, right? He said, yeah, I get it now. I said, good, because sometimes it takes a little bit of learning. Okay, case history number 3. This is the most dramatic of all, and that is why I have saved it for last. This involved a personal friend of mine, and he was out in LA auditioning for jobs, getting called back for lots, getting in on pilots, getting called back, and then lo and behold, he books a pilot. He shoots the pilot, great news. The network greenlights the pilot, even better news. He's going to have a series, life could change. If it's a hit, anything could happen. And something did happen. Some new executives came into the network and they watched the pilot and they put a little halt on the green light. They put the caution light on. And one of the executives who had quite a bit of power, a lot of power, said, this is a green light. It's a show. I love it. It goes except for one thing. That guy, my friend. They said, you have to reshoot it. We have to do it. I don't. And my friend said to me, I don't, devastated. He said, I don't know the person. They've never met them. He said, I guess whatever I am, whatever I do, whatever I'm about, whatever I look like, whatever it was, they weren't having any of it. And I was out of there. So they got somebody else, reshot it, did it, and the series went on, didn't last long. And my friend has a lot of emotional intelligence anyway. He's gifted with that. He's gifted with creative intelligence and also a lot of intellectual intelligence. So he did what one has to do to succeed in life and certainly in acting. He got back on the horse. And before too long, he got a miniseries. He was in an ensemble. And after he did that, it was like 6 episodes. It went off the air. And a role came up on Broadway, a huge role. And the young actor who had the role had to leave because he got another job. And so this young man was up for the role. So he went and he auditioned for it and he got called back. And he got called back again. And now he's in New York. And the understanding is that the star, the woman star of the show, who's the theater star and a movie star, had a lot of clout in whom she wanted the young man in the show to be. And so, because the role was actually larger than hers. So anyway, he goes in and he goes in and he goes in and he hears there's only a couple of guys up for the part at this point. And so he goes in for his final audition. He's going to meet the star and he's all excited. And he knows himself. He knows what he's going to do. He can read a script and, okay, I think I know what this is. I think I know where it's going. So he walks in and he sits down and he's excited for his final audition. And somebody walks in the room and sits down across from him. Who is it? It's the guy who replaced him on the series that he got fired from. And he just sat there. He said, I didn't say anything except, hello. He said, it had nothing to do with him. He said, there's nothing rancor there. He said, I was gone. They picked him. It wasn't personal. He said, and I started thinking, could this happen again? What a coincidence. Is this same guy going to end up being the one that got... He said, but I wouldn't let myself go there. I would not let myself go there. I just sat there and I realized what it was I was going to be able to do with the role. And I put my time and my energy into thought about that. And he said, but I did think one thing that I didn't say out loud. He said, I sat there and I said to myself, as I glanced in his direction and looked away, I said, no, this one's mine. This one's for me. And it was. He got it. Now, could it have gone to the other guy? Sure. But I think the way my friend was thinking was, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to give it what I got, I know what I can do, and I'm not going to sit here in traffic and he might get it, I might lose it. It just wouldn't have served him. So again, the emotional intelligence is this idea of being able to have things work for you and not against you. Okay, so where do you come in here? You might be saying, well, this is all great. All these guys have agents, and I don't even have that. I'm auditioning at the internet casting level, to which I say the same principle applies. You need to be getting feedback from the outside world. Even if you're just sending in self-tapes and stuff, people have to want to send you more sides or put you on hold or call you back. So your audition skills have to be good because people have to like you in order for you to get anywhere. And there's a lot of that goes on before you actually get stuff, usually. So where do you come in here? I have an idea. In my consulting work with actors, a lot of the actors that I work with have agents already. So they come to me to sort of troubleshoot areas, teach them how to communicate better, what can we fix. It's not a bad relationship. It's pretty good. So that's what I deal with a lot of actors. Not all. Many don't have agents, but there are a lot who do. So what I do when I work with an actor who has an agent, the very first thing I say to them is, how did you get your agent in the first place? Because that's a huge tell for me when I know where that came from. It just does. After doing this for decades, it gives me a big opening place to go with our conversation. So what I've learned is that there are 7 ways that actors get agents, okay? There may be more. I've never heard of other ones, but I've discovered it's always one of 7 answers. So what I would propose to do at no cost is come up with my own series. Finally, I get my own series. And it would be 7 episodes, sort of about the length of this one, each one dedicated to a way in which an actor gets an agent and how to navigate that and how to put that together. And even if you have an agent, you could watch them and see some things will be incorporated in there that you could still use to make your current relationship better. So if you're interested in me doing that, just give a little yes, I'd like to see it, a little something below if you would do that, and then I'll proceed with it. I just need to know that people want to do it. In the meantime, if there are other issues that you have, you can always find me at actingasabusiness.com. And just one final word, if you have any skepticism or cynicism about this concept of emotional intelligence, it's a sign you probably have it. Not skepticism and cynicism, emotional intelligence, because that means you want to look into things, you want to investigate things, you want to analyze things before you decide if it's accurate. So as you read up on it, you'll see that it pretty much makes sense. Okay, so that is my message for you today. I would love to do this series. I'll get it going. I'll put them all up at once instead of, week 1, week 2. I think it's best if I can have it all there for everybody when I do it and I get it done. I just like to hear from you that you would like me to do it. And that is my message from you today. So it's Brian O'Neill, actingasabusiness.com. And you can go back to what you were doing before I tapped on your little glass pane and said hello there. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.